"You're his sister," the cop said, pressing the gun to the hostage's head. He had no idea this Delta commander wasn't there for revenge. She was there to methodically dismantle his entire world. The town of Crestwood, North Carolina, sold a postcard image of Southern tranquility. But beneath the quaint storefronts and manicured lawns, a current of racial tension ran deep, a bitter undertow that could pull you under without warning. Lieutenant Marcus Wright was the town's apex predator, a 38-year-old white police officer whose personnel file was a masterclass in sanitized fiction. His latest victim was Elijah Jackson, a 27-year-old graphic designer and beloved youth art mentor, dead from 7 bullets during a traffic stop for a broken taillight. Wright's official story: he feared for his life. Grace Chapel Community Church was packed, a testament to the young man whose vibrant murals now graced the walls of the local youth center. At the front sat Leona Jackson, a retired teacher who had molded generations, now a statue of grief, hollowed out by the burial of her youngest child. As Elijah's best friend delivered a eulogy, his voice cracking, the heavy oak doors of the chapel creaked open. Lieutenant Wright strolled in, flanked by 3 other officers. They weren't mourners, they were occupiers. They lined the back wall, arms crossed, with Wright leaning against it, a thin, cruel smile playing on his lips. He tapped a tacky silver ring against the plaster, an impatient rhythm of contempt. "At least he's lying still this time," Wright whispered to his partner, his voice a venomous stage whisper designed to carry. "Saves us a hell of a lot of paperwork." Heads turned. A collective gasp rippled through the back pews. As the service continued, Wright's provocations grew bolder. When an elderly deacon approached, pleading for respect, Wright didn't just flash his badge. He used his thumb to flick it contemptuously. "We're just making sure everyone's emotions don't get out of control," he said, the threat hanging in the air like poison. The confrontation drew every eye in the church, including Leona's. Seeing her son's killer standing there, mocking his memory, shattered her composure. A sound tore from her throat, not a scream, but the sound of a soul breaking. She collapsed in her seat. The funeral dissolved into chaos. As paramedics rushed to Leona's side, Wright and his men backed toward the exit, his laughter now open and ugly. "See," he called out. "Too emotional. Just like her boy." The local news would later report tensions at a local funeral. The community's outrage was a familiar, powerless ache. But they didn't know that on a military transport plane descending toward Fort Liberty, a war for justice was about to be declared. Colonel Anya Jackson stepped off the C-17 Globemaster with the contained energy of a coiled spring. Her military-spec cornrows were immaculate, her movements efficient and precise. Her eyes, the same warm brown as her brother's, were now like storm clouds gathering over a desert. 12 hours earlier, she'd been coordinating a counter-terrorism operation in a classified corner of Africa when the news had reached her. Elijah. Police. Gone. The 14-hour flight was a blur of encrypted reports and frantic messages. But nothing prepared her for the sight of her mother in a hospital bed at Crestwood General. Leona Jackson looked as if she had aged 20 years in a day. "They killed my baby, Anya," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread. "And then, that man, he came to his funeral and he laughed." Anya took her mother's trembling hand. Her own was rock steady. "They made a mistake, Mama," she said, her voice a low, steady hum of command. "They don't know who our family is. I will ensure justice is served. That is my mission now." In her eyes, her mother saw not vengeance, but a terrifying, cold resolve. "Not with violence, Anya. Please. I can't lose you too." Anya's jaw tightened, a flicker of the storm within. "I won't become what I fight against," she promised. The next morning, Anya used her military credentials to access the county morgue. Dr. Eris Thorne, a young, nervous medical examiner, seemed relieved to have someone asking the right questions. "The official report will mention a descending angle from a medium distance," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. But look here. He pointed to Elijah's body. The stippling patterns around 3 of the entry wounds indicate a muzzle distance of less than 2 inches. This was an execution, Colonel. From the morgue, Anya met with Eleanor Vance, a legendary civil rights attorney known as the Courtroom Lioness. Her office walls were covered with photos of her alongside icons of the movement. The dashcam footage was conveniently corrupted, Vance stated, her voice laced with weary fury. Witnesses changed their stories after follow-up interviews. And the gun they found in his car. It has no prints. None. That evening, Anya stood before Elijah's fresh grave. She placed 3 items on the cold earth, a bronze star, a purple heart, and her Delta Force insignia pin. I've spent my life fighting enemies overseas, little brother, she whispered. Never thought the real war was back here. She knelt, her hand resting on the soil. But I will use everything they taught me. This isn't for revenge. This is for justice. Warfare is won with intelligence. Anya Jackson's new war was no different. Within 48 hours, she had secured a nondescript apartment overlooking the Crestwood police station and transformed it into a command center. One wall became a living information mosaic, web of faces, timelines, and financial flows connected by colored threads, all data updated in real time through an encrypted mesh network. At the center of the web was the smirking face of Marcus Wright. To the world, she was Maya Sinclair, a high-end data security specialist for a tech giant, scouting locations for a new server cluster. The identity was flawless, complete with a backstop social media presence and a wardrobe of sharp, corporate attire. It gave her the perfect cover to be seen in all the right, and wrong, places. Her first target was the monthly police community outreach breakfast. She watched as Police Chief Dale Harding, a man whose folksy charm barely concealed a deep-seated arrogance, delivered a practiced speech. "We hold our officers to the highest standards," he droned. Anya's eyes, however, were on a young Latina officer standing near the back, Eva Rostova. The barely perceptible roll of her eyes as the chief spoke told Anya everything she needed to know. Rostova was a potential asset, disillusioned but still wearing the uniform. Creating an opportunity, Anya accidentally spilled a little coffee on Chief Harding's sleeve. "Oh, my goodness, Chief, I am so sorry," she said, her voice a smooth blend of apology and confidence. "Maya Sinclair. I'm new in town, just exploring." Harding's handshake was firm, his smile a political tool. "We pride ourselves on our community relations, Ms. Sinclair." "I can see that," Anya replied, gesturing subtly toward Officer Rostova. "It's wonderful to see such a diverse department." The chief's smile tightened. "We're an equal opportunity employer." The defensive note in his voice was another piece of the puzzle. Anya filed it away. Over the next 2 weeks, operating as Maya, she systematically mapped Wright's life. He lived in a gated community his salary couldn't possibly afford. He was a regular at a seedy, cop-friendly bar called the Rusty Spur. And he was a key player in an illegal high-stakes poker game where, Anya quickly deduced, cash from the department's civil forfeiture slush fund was being laundered. This wasn't just a case of a rogue cop, it was organized crime with badges. The unofficial group of enforcers Wright led called themselves the Guardians, a name dripping with self-righteous irony. Anya documented their shakedowns of minority-owned businesses, their patterns of harassment, their protectors within the department. Her grief was a cold, hard stone in her gut, but she channeled it into the methodical, patient work of a hunter stalking her prey. The Rusty Spur was a den of stale beer and resentment. It was here, amidst the jukebox's sad country songs, that Anya, as Maya, orchestrated her first direct contact with Marcus Wright. She approached the bar, feigning a stumble, and bumped into him. "Whoa there," Wright slurred, sizing up the well-dressed woman. "Watch where you're going." "My apologies," Anya said, her smile disarming. "Let me buy you a drink to make up for it." Wright's eyes raked over her, a flicker of predatory interest mixed with condescension. He saw a successful woman, an outsider, someone to be impressed and intimidated. He had no idea he was looking at the architect of his downfall. "You're not from around here," he stated. "Just scouting for business," Anya replied smoothly. "Seems like a town where a man in your position holds a lot of authority." She played her part perfectly, leveraging his sexism against him. She let him believe she was impressed by his power, a corporate woman intrigued by a real man. It was a mask of steel, and behind it, she watched him swallow the bait. Fueled by whiskey and his own ego, Wright began to boast. "You gotta know how to keep order," he bragged. "Had this uppity professor type, a real smart mouth, thought he could talk back to me during a stop. Had to teach him a permanent lesson about respecting the badge." Anya's hand tightened around her glass, her knuckles turning white. He was confessing to his victim's sister, and he didn't even know it. "Should have seen his mama at the funeral," Wright chuckled, shaking his head. "All high and mighty. Fell apart like a cheap suit when I showed up." It took every ounce of Anya's Delta Force discipline not to end him right there. Instead, she maintained her cover, even offering a sympathetic nod. At the end of the night, she helped the staggering officer to his truck, using the opportunity to place a micro-tracker under the chassis. As he drove away, she stood in the dark parking lot, the mask finally falling from her face, revealing a fury as cold and sharp as a shard of ice. Her investigation deepened. She confirmed Wright's leadership of the Guardians. She discovered the illegal poker game was not just for laundering money, but also for blackmailing local officials who participated. She identified the forensics director who systematically altered evidence and the internal affairs officer who buried complaints. The web was bigger and dirtier than she had imagined. The hunt was on, and Anya Jackson was closing in. Anya's first strike was a masterpiece of psychological warfare. She didn't leak a dry report, she leaked a video. Working through Ben Carter, an ambitious independent journalist, she released footage from a hidden camera she'd planted in the back room of the Rusty Spur. It showed Marcus Wright, drunk and laughing, reenacting the shooting of Elijah for his fellow Guardians, complete with sound effects. The video went viral. #Justice for Elijah trended nationally. The Crestwood Police Department imploded. Chief Harding scrambled, announcing an internal investigation into the leak, led by the very internal affairs officer who protected Wright. Paranoia became the new uniform of the day. "Someone is a rat." Wright screamed in a recorded conversation from the tracker on his truck. "Find them." Officer Eva Rostova found herself assigned to the most dangerous shifts, always alone. The message was clear. But the system's counterattack was clumsy, born of panic. Wright, feeling the pressure, escalated his harassment of the community, which Anya's network of hidden cameras meticulously documented. The real danger came when Wright's paranoia focused. He had Anya's, Maya Sinclair, apartment searched. They found nothing incriminating, but they did find a custom-built encrypted router. By tracing its unique hardware signature through a military contractor, Wright finally connected the dots. The security consultant. The soldier on leave. The brother. Jackson, Wright spat the name to his detective partner. "It's his goddamn sister." The hunter had become the hunted. Anya intercepted the communication planning the raid on her apartment. No body cams, Wright ordered his hand-picked team of 4 Guardians. "He's military, he'll resist. Put him down." Self-defense. He still thought she was a man. It was his final, fatal miscalculation. Anya activated her contingency plan. When the 4 officers breached the door, they walked into a tactical symphony. The smart home system turned against them, blinds snapped shut, strobes flashed, and a disorienting low-frequency hum blasted from the speakers. Anya moved through the chaos like a ghost. It wasn't a brawl, it was a clinical takedown. Using Krav Maga, she neutralized all 4 heavily armed men in under 2 minutes, disarming and restraining them with zip ties. The entire encounter was recorded from 3 different angles. Before she vanished into the night, she left each officer a personalized parting gift, a file containing irrefutable proof of their own specific crimes, bank statements showing illegal bonuses, transcripts of them intimidating witnesses. For the last one, she left a tablet looped with the unaltered dashcam footage of Elijah's murder. Her message was clear: the ship is sinking. Save yourselves. The failed raid shattered the Guardians' solidarity. 2 of the officers involved immediately requested transfers, refusing to speak about what happened. The decisive blow, however, came from within. Officer Eva Rostova, fearing for her immigrant family after direct threats from Wright, walked into the regional FBI office. She handed over 6 months of recordings and documentation. "He's going to kill someone else," she said, her voice shaking but firm. "I can't be a part of it anymore." Rostova's courage opened the floodgates. 2 other officers and the forensics technician came forward. The dam of silence broke. Simultaneously, the community coalition Anya had secretly organized held a press conference. 23 victims of the Guardians told their stories, their voices united and powerful. The narrative had shifted irrevocably. The FBI officially launched a full-scale civil rights investigation. Cornered, isolated, and with his world collapsing, Marcus Wright made his final, desperate move. He barricaded himself in the station's communication center, taking Officer Rostova, who had returned to duty under FBI protection, as a hostage. "I want full immunity and $500,000, he screamed over the police radio. "Anyone comes in, she dies first." As SWAT teams surrounded the building, Colonel Anya Jackson walked through the police lines. She was no longer Maya Sinclair. She was the commander of the board. She negotiated her way into the building, trading herself for Rostova. Face to face, the final confrontation was not one of violence, but of truth. "You know, your brother cried like a little girl," Wright taunted, trying to provoke the reaction he understood. "Are you going to cry too, Colonel?" "This was never just about you, Wright," Anya said, her voice dangerously calm. "It was about the system that let you flourish." With a cry of pure rage, Wright lunged at her. The fight was short and brutally one-sided. Anya moved with the cold precision of her training, using his undisciplined fury against him. She didn't pummel him, she dismantled him, using joint locks and pressure points to neutralize him without a single closed fist strike. She pinned him to the ground, her forearm across his throat. "I could kill you," she breathed, the promise made at her brother's grave echoing in her mind. "Justice, not revenge." She released him. "You don't get to be a martyr," she said, disgust in her voice. "You get to be a prisoner. You don't deserve my rage. You deserve a cage." 6 months later, Marcus Wright was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The rest of the Guardians received sentences ranging from 15 to 40 years. The Crestwood Police Department was fundamentally restructured under federal oversight. Eva Rostova was promoted to lead the new, empowered Internal Affairs Division. Anya and her mother established the Elijah Jackson Visual Arts and Justice Scholarship, funding students dedicated to using technology and law for civil rights. On the day the first scholarship was awarded, Anya stood with her mother, watching a community once fractured by fear now celebrating in a park. The "Justice for Elijah" signs had been replaced with "Building a Better Crestwood" banners. "What now?" Leona asked. Anya looked at the children playing, at the new, diverse class of police recruits mingling with residents, at the legacy of change born from tragedy. "Now," she said, a quiet strength in her voice, "we make sure this is just the beginning." What would you have done in Anya's position? Would you have chosen justice through the legal system or taken matters into your own hands? Leave a comment below with your thoughts. If you believe in the power of strategic justice over impulsive revenge, hit that like button to spread this message. Subscribe for more powerful narratives of courage and transformation, and share this story with someone who needs to be reminded that one determined individual, armed with truth and discipline, can bring down even the most entrenched corruption. And in the comments, please always show respect for the different perspectives shared.